Julia didn't expect Lisa to question her like that. She was stunned for a long moment before she came to her senses. Tears streamed down her face as she cried brokenly, still looking aggrieved. No, I don't hate you. We grew up together and depended on each other. How could I hate you? I was happy for you when someone kind wanted to adopt you. Oh, really? A trace of coldness flickered in Lisa's eyes as she continued pressing. If you were that happy, then why did you hold me back this morning? Why did you hint that if I left, the Zhang family might stop sponsoring you and you wouldn't be able to go to school? Why did you hint that I should give you this opportunity instead? Julia didn't expect Lisa to see through her thoughts. She waved her hands quickly and said, No, I didn't. Why are you afraid the Zhang family will stop paying your tuition? Isn't it because they only wanted to sponsor me at first? Because I could help Zhang Mingwei with her homework. But since I had a scholarship, I gave the sponsorship to you. If I got adopted, I wouldn't be going to Zhang Mingyue's house anymore, and you were afraid that if I left, you'd have no way to continue school. So you wanted me to give you the adoption opportunity, right? Lisa's eyes fixed coldly on Julia's face, and her voice rose. Julia looked pale, crying uncontrollably, shaking her head again and again. No, I didn't. The director was so angry her fingers trembled as she pointed at Julia. Her voice quivered. Julia, Lisa has been so good to you, and yet you're this selfish? For your own benefit, you actually. The Thompsons and Jason had been watching the whole time without a word. Only then did Julia begin to panic. She had thought that the Thompsons would believe the director had misled them and would either leave angrily or feel sorry for her and choose to adopt her instead. But they didn't say a single word. I didn't. Director, I know you like Lisa, but you can't treat me like this. Julia suddenly rushed forward and clung tightly to the director's leg, crying loudly. Since we were little, all the good food, all the good chances, you always gave them to Lisa. I never complained, so why would I ruin things? Whatever good Lisa had, she always gave it to you. What are you even complaining about? The director was so furious she almost fainted. How could she have raised such an ungrateful child? You didn't ruin things? You messed up my room, tampered with my exam papers, put dirty clothes on my bed, and made a mess. Wasn't that sabotage? I tolerated all of that. But Julia, the one thing you absolutely shouldn't have done was set the kitchen on fire. Lisa yanked Julia away from the director and harshly questioned her. If the volunteers hadn't been here today, if the fire couldn't be put out, it would have burned down the entire orphanage. You're so young. How could you be this cruel? Julia never imagined that Lisa, usually so soft, could have such a fierce side. She was stunned, looking at Lisa in disbelief and trembling. It wasn't me. I didn't. Oh, it wasn't you? Then tell me, when the fire started, where were you? Who were you with? Lisa pressed her relentlessly, giving her no room to escape. Julia was at a loss for words. I saw her go into the kitchen. A little voice suddenly spoke up, looking timidly at Julia. After she went in, the kitchen caught fire soon after. You little brat, don't talk nonsense. Julia hadn't expected someone to see her. She glared fiercely at the boy. I'm not lying. She dropped this in the backyard. I picked it up. The boy pulled a lighter out of his pocket and ran up to hand it to Lisa. This lighter had been given to Julia by the director because she and Lisa, being older, had to help with breakfast. The orphanage sometimes used firewood to save money. Julia's face turned deathly pale. Lisa threw the lighter at her face and said coldly, What else do you have to say? Director, call the police. She wasn't even 14 yet. At most, she'd be detained for 15 days. It would be a good lesson for her. The moment Lisa mentioned the police, all the color drained from Julia's face. Suddenly, she leapt up and gave Lisa a hard shove. Lisa wasn't prepared. She fell to the ground, and the rough gravel immediately scraped her face. Lisa. The others rushed forward to help her up. By the time Lisa stood, Julia had already bolted, running toward the backyard. Wasn't she supposed to have a limp? Mrs. Thompson looked surprised as Julia nimbly climbed over the wall. She was faking it, Lisa gasped from the pain. When we were little, I just thought she was selfish. I never imagined she could be this vicious. Director, if she comes back, you really have to teach her a lesson. The director was almost fainting from anger, clutching her chest. She's going to give me a heart attack. This Julia. Don't be upset, Director. Let's take care of Lisa's paperwork first. This orphanage isn't fit to live in anymore. We'll move you to a new place. From now on, Thompson will cover all your property management and meals. Mr. Thompson sighed. As for the school fees for the kids, the Lewis family will cover them through college, Jason added. The director was overjoyed and held Lisa's hand in excitement. Her eyes were wet with tears as she repeatedly thanked Mr. Thompson and Jason. Thank you so much, thank you. The paperwork was handled quickly. During the process, Jason accompanied Lisa to pack her belongings. Lisa started by organizing her books and schoolwork, then moved on to her clothes. But just as she folded one piece of clothing, Jason reached over and pulled it from her hands. His tone was calm. Don't take this one. Lisa rolled her eyes at him, speechless. He looked off to the side like nothing happened. She picked up another piece of clothing and, again, Jason's hand reached out. Not this one either. Lisa glared at him angrily and went to pack another. Sure enough, Jason reached out again. But as his eyes landed on the item in Lisa's hands, he recoiled as if shocked by electricity. I'll wait for you outside, he said awkwardly before fleeing the room. Lisa's lips curled slightly as she calmly folded the pink underwear in her hands and tucked it into her bag. She really hadn't expected it. Jason was actually a shy boy after all. Lisa didn't have many things. It didn't take long before she finished packing and stepped out the door. Seeing her, Jason immediately walked over, took the bag from her, and said softly, "Let me carry it." The man she had secretly loved in her past life was now acting like a loyal puppy, quietly trying to please her. Lisa felt like she was dreaming. Before she could respond, Jason had already taken the lead, walking ahead. His tall and slender figure fell into Lisa's eyes, and he actually looked a little flustered. Haha, could he still be shy? Mr. and Mrs. Thompson had already completed the paperwork and were waiting at the door for Lisa. Along the way, they kept asking if she was cold, hungry, or thirsty, as if they wanted to give her their whole heart. Not long after, a luxurious Zeppelin pulled steadily into the garden of a grand villa. Mrs. Thompson carefully helped Lisa out of the car, still sounding a little emotional. Lisa, we're home. Lisa followed her into the grand villa and took a tour of the entire place. The swimming pool, the garden, the hall, the dining room, the basement, the collection room, the study, and finally, her bedroom. This room has always been kept for you. I just knew you'd come back. Look. Mrs. Thompson excitedly pulled her around to show her things. This is the vanity I specially bought for you. Our Lisa is a young lady now, and this wardrobe was custom-made just for you. I clean it myself every day, so there's not a speck of dust. Looking at this bright and airy room filled with girlish charm, Lisa felt her eyes welling up. So she wasn't an orphan. She actually had a mother who truly loved her. In her past life, how foolish she had been to give up the chance to reunite with the Thompsons and hand it to that selfish and cruel Julia. Mommy, is that you? A soft, sweet voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Lisa's touched expression instantly froze. Laura. Sure enough, the half-closed door was gently pushed open by a pair of fair, delicate hands. A girl in a pale mauve custom-made dress tiptoed in. Mommy, didn't we say we'd go to the aquarium this afternoon? Laura was visibly shocked when she saw Lisa. Mrs. Thompson hurried over to pull Laura over and brought her to Lisa. Her face was beaming. Laura, this is your sister, Sue Mooching. We finally found your sister. She's been through so much outside all these years. You must treat her well. Laura's face showed a flicker of awkward discomfort. After a moment of hesitation, she spoke hesitantly to Lisa. Sister. Lisa clenched her fists tightly, hatred surging inside her. She wanted to slap Laura right then and there. After a moment of silence, she finally suppressed the anger and hatred in her heart. She lifted her chin slightly, her voice calm and clear. Hello, I'm Sue Mooching. I hope you'll take good care of me in the future. Laura's face stiffened even more. Her beautiful eyes flashed with disgust. She had no intention of continuing the conversation. Mommy, I'm hungry. Can we go eat? She said sweetly, hugging Mrs. Thompson's arm. Mrs. Thompson stroked her head lovingly. All right. We've been out so long. Why didn't you ask the maid to make something for you? You should have. How boring to eat alone. I want to eat with Daddy and Mommy. Laura smiled sweetly. What a warm mother-daughter scene. Lisa let out a cold chuckle in her heart. Who would have guessed that this sweet and elegant Laura was a venomous, cold-hearted woman? Lisa, come on, let's eat. Mrs. Thompson took Laura in her left hand and Lisa in her right, asking with concern. Lisa, is there anything you like to eat? Just tell me. Lisa replied calmly. As long as I'm full, that's enough. Hearing that, Mrs. Thompson's face stiffened slightly, her eyes starting to moisten again. It's all my fault. You won't suffer anymore from now on. Lisa gave a faint smile, her voice firm. Mom, don't blame yourself. The orphanage director was very kind to me. I didn't suffer much. I had sponsors to pay for my primary school, and in middle school I had a scholarship. I already had a much better life than other orphans. Those words were like knives stabbing into Mrs. Thompson's heart. Her daughter, the rightful Thompson heiress, had to rely on scholarships just to attend school. Good girl, good girl. Mrs. Thompson let go of Laura's hand and hugged Lisa tightly, tears falling again. It's all Mommy's fault. I failed to protect you. From now on, no matter what happens, I won't let go of you again. Lisa hadn't expected her mother to be so emotional. She stayed quietly in her arms and tried to comfort her. Mom, don't cry. I'm here now, aren't I? Laura stood stiffly where she was, furious that Mrs. Thompson had let go of her. Her gaze toward Lisa was filled with cold hatred, as if she wanted to tear her apart. All these years, she and her aunt had done everything they could to stop the Thompsons from finding their real daughter, yet in the end, they still did. Laura clenched her palms tightly, forcing down the jealousy and anger inside her. She knew she wasn't the Thompsons' real daughter. She was just their niece. Her parents had died, and after the real daughter was lost, she was raised like a daughter. But now that the real daughter had returned, would they still treat her the same? Would she have to give up everything to that orphan girl? The more she thought about it, the more terrified she felt. Her gaze toward Lisa grew even colder and darker. The moment my sister came back, she made Mommy cry. I hate her, Laura shouted, then turned and ran off. Lisa and Mrs. Thompson were both momentarily stunned. This child. Mrs. Thompson wiped her tears and sighed. Lisa, Laura has a congenital heart condition. She's not in good health. You'll have to be a little more patient with her. Lisa nodded obediently. Don't worry, Mom. I took care of many kids in the orphanage. Let alone Laura. Even if you had 2 more younger siblings, I could take care of them too. Mrs. Thompson's face changed slightly at those words. After a moment of hesitation, she lowered her voice. Lisa, don't say such things. After I gave birth to you, my body was damaged and I couldn't have more children. Laura is a pitiful child too. She's actually your second uncle and aunt's daughter. The year you went missing, they went out to look for you and got into a car accident. Both of them died, leaving Laura all alone. So that's how Laura became the Thompson heiress, taking everything from her, even the engagement with the Lewis family. Lisa showed no change in expression and nodded obediently. I understand, Mom. Don't worry. Good girl. Mrs. Thompson was satisfied and led Lisa downstairs. The maids had already set the table. Mr. Thompson was in a good mood and had personally cooked a few dishes. When he saw Lisa come down, he looked a little nervous. Lisa, Daddy cooked a few dishes today. Try them. Mr. Thompson pulled out a chair for her and then stood to serve her some fish. By the way, where's Laura? He asked casually. Still upstairs. Maybe she's upset because Lisa came back. Mrs. Thompson sighed. Auntie, go upstairs and ask the second young lady to come down for dinner. And tell everyone, from today on, Lisa is officially our Thompson young lady. Yes, madam. The maid nodded and went upstairs. After her earlier outburst, Laura had rushed into her room, growing angrier the more she thought about it. She ended up crying. Why did this have to happen? Her happy life was ruined by that outsider. From now on, her parents would no longer be hers alone. As she fumed, there was a knock on her door. Who is it? Laura deliberately added a sob to her voice. Deep down, she was actually pleased, thinking it must be her mother coming to comfort her. Second young lady, Madam and Sir asked you to come down for dinner, came the maid's voice. Second young lady? What second young lady? Hadn't they always called her the young lady? Laura stood up angrily from the bed and flung the door open, glaring at the maid. What did you just call me? What did you say? Second young lady, the maid replied honestly. Who told you to call me second, miss? Was it that woman? Laura was furious. She grabbed the flowers from a nearby vase and threw them at the maid's head. The maid calmly removed the flowers that landed on her and replied in a flat tone. It was Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's instructions. From now on, Miss Lisa is the eldest daughter, and you are the second miss. They asked you to come down for dinner. After she finished speaking, she turned to leave. Just then, the sound of a car slowing to a stop came from downstairs. Soon after, the maids greeted in unison, Mr. Lewis. Jason. Laura's ears twitched. The anger in her eyes vanished instantly and lit up with excitement. She quickly tidied her dress and hair, then rushed downstairs. She had almost forgotten she still had Jason. Lisa might be the biological daughter of her parents, but Jason had grown up with her. The Lewis family was even wealthier than the Thompsons. As long as she could marry Jason, she wouldn't have to worry, even if the Thompsons left her nothing. With that thought, Laura quickened her steps. By the time she reached the first floor, Jason had just walked in, holding a delicately wrapped brocade box. Jason. Laura threw herself forward and hugged his waist. Jason took a step back and distanced himself from her. Just as he was about to speak, Laura stood on tiptoe and snatched the box from his hands with a sweet smile. Jason, is this for me? You're so good to me. Jason frowned, but before he could respond, Laura had already opened the box and taken out its contents. It was a pure white dress. Judging by the style and quality, it was clearly a custom piece made for someone. Laura was overjoyed to receive such an intimate gift from Jason. Blushing with delight, she held the dress up to herself and smiled shyly. Jason, I love it. Thank you. You're the best. Jason's already reserved expression became even more awkward. He stepped forward and took the dress from Laura, folded it neatly, and placed it back into the box. Laura, sorry. This dress is for Lisa. Your gift is with the driver. Just as he finished speaking, a middle-aged man walked in behind him, carrying another box that looked similar. Laura's expression turned sour instantly, filled with hurt, disappointment, and most of all, jealousy. Why did Jason personally carry Lisa's gift while hers was brought in by the driver? She took the box handed to her by Jason via the driver, forcing a stiff smile. Sorry, sister, I thought. It's okay. If you really like it, you can have it. Lisa looked at her with a faint smile. Seeing Laura's eyes filled with jealousy brought a trace of satisfaction to her heart, but this was far from enough. In her previous life, she had her heart carved out and died bleeding. How could Laura's jealousy ever make up for that? She would make Laura suffer and take back everything that belonged to her. This was from Jason. Laura bit her lip hard. Jason, you didn't have to bring a gift. You coming here is already a huge favor. You're the one who helped reunite our family. We should be thanking you, Lisa said gently, then turned to Jason, her tone soft. Have you eaten? Come sit with us. Lisa took the gift from Jason and reached out to pull out a chair for him, but Laura quickly stepped in and pulled out a different chair before her. Jason, sit here. I have a lot I want to ask you, she said sweetly, trying to sound delicate. Jason glanced at Lisa. Seeing no displeasure in her expression, he didn't want to embarrass Laura again and sat in the seat she had pulled out. Only then did Laura look pleased. She began to serve food to Jason with a smile. Jason, try this. It's the freshest seafood, specially delivered by Dad. It's my favorite, she said, unable to hide the sense of superiority in her voice. But Jason calmly broke open the steamed crab, took out the roe with his chopsticks, and placed it into Lisa's bowl. Lisa, try this. I don't like crab, he said with a faint, doting smile. Laura stared at him in disbelief, her fists clenched tightly in her lap, her heart aching with both sorrow and rage. Thank you, Jason. Lisa didn't act coy. She picked up the crab roe and ate it. Honestly, in her past life, she had been just an ordinary civilian. She could never afford seafood. To her, this crab didn't taste much different than the regular kind. Lisa, try this. I steamed it myself. See if you like it, Mr. Thompson said as he placed a piece of tender white fish into her bowl. Lisa, and this is my favorite dish, Mrs. Thompson said, piling more and more food into Lisa's bowl. Soon, Lisa's small bowl was stacked like a little mountain. She was on the verge of tears. The meals at the orphanage had been terrible, and now she was being served rich food nonstop. Her stomach would surely protest later. So she just kept thanking them and quietly ate the rice in her bowl. Laura watched all this from the side. After holding back for a while, she suddenly turned to Jason and asked him a question in English. This wild girl grew up in an orphanage. How could she possibly compare to Laura, who had attended elite schools since childhood? If she spoke to Jason in English, Lisa probably wouldn't understand a word. Jason frowned slightly and gave Laura a cold glance. He saw through her thoughts clearly. He didn't respond, but Lisa, who had been quietly eating, suddenly smiled, set down her chopsticks, and replied to Laura in Mandarin, "Such a simple question, don't you know the answer?" I remember it was on the citywide mock exam. Though her pronunciation wasn't as polished as Laura's, Lisa spoke clearly and with perfect logic. In her past life, she had majored in Chinese and later worked in translation. Laura wanted to humiliate her with this? She had picked the wrong opponent. Laura stared at Lisa, stunned and humiliated, unable to find a way to respond. Her face was burning with embarrassment. Lisa no longer paid her any attention and instead turned her gaze to Jason, speaking again in English. "Speaking of questions, I actually have one." Before long, she and Jason were engrossed in a conversation, discussing academic topics. Although Laura could understand them, she was all style with no substance and couldn't find an opportunity to interject a single word. Anxious and furious, Laura watched Jason's focused gaze on Lisa and began to harbor a malicious thought. Jason was hers. He was her assumed fiancé since childhood. If that wretch hadn't returned, everything would have stayed the same, and she would have naturally taken her place and married Jason. Jason was hers. That woman just needed to disappear. "Lisa, I didn't expect your studies to be so good." "I really have to thank the director of the orphanage." Mrs. Thompson was pleasantly surprised. She had only looked at Lisa with sympathy and affection before, but now there was pride in her eyes. "She's indeed quite good. Lisa has even studied many college-level subjects seriously." Jason also nodded in praise. "I did go to college, you know." Lisa couldn't help muttering to herself. "By the way, Lisa, my grandfather asked me to bring you home for a visit. He also wants to formally settle our engagement," Jason suddenly said. Lisa was in the middle of drinking water and immediately spit it all out. Sitting across from her was Laura. Her already stiff and unsightly face was now drenched, and the grievance in her heart could no longer be held back as she burst into tears. "Jason, my sister doesn't like me," she cried and threw herself into Jason's arms. "She came back, and now she doesn't like me. Will Dad and Mom drive me away too?" Jason was not used to being so close to her and felt very awkward. He looked at Lisa with a troubled expression. Lisa, however, smiled with a hint of joy and looked back at him casually. So Jason did not like Laura at this moment. That was truly wonderful. Playing the pitiful card, was she? Fine. Lisa would let her play it all the way. Lisa thought of an idea. She looked up at the Thompsons and said calmly, "Dad, Mom, this sister, she's not my biological sister, is she?" Mr. Thompson gave Mrs. Thompson a slightly reproachful glance and said with some hesitation, "Actually, Laura is your cousin. She's the daughter of your uncle and aunt. Since she's not your biological child, shouldn't she stop living in this house and stop calling you Dad and Mom? Shouldn't it be uncle and aunt instead?" Lisa glanced at Laura. Sure enough, Laura's tears welled up again. She looked at Lisa with panic and suddenly knelt down, kowtowing repeatedly, "Sister, please don't drive me away. I won't take anything from you. If you drive me away, I'll be an orphan again. I won't survive." Lisa calmly touched her chin, smiled at Jason, and said unhurriedly, "Being an orphan isn't so bad, is it? Why wouldn't you survive? How about this? I just left the orphanage. I can ask the director to save my bed for you. How does that sound?" Laura, in a moment of desperation, pushed Lisa. Lisa hadn't expected her to do that right in front of the Thompsons. Thankfully, Jason reacted quickly and caught her in time. "Dad, Mom, please don't abandon me. Don't send me away. I beg you." You've already let one daughter become an orphan. Are you going to let me become one too? Tears soaked Laura's eyelashes, and she looked devastated and helpless. She didn't care how heartbroken Mrs. Thompson would be. Laura, we're not going to send you away, Mrs. Thompson, with red eyes, held Laura's arm tightly. She had raised her with her own hands. How could she bear to let her leave alone? It's my sister. She came back, and now I'm going to be sent away. She came back and stole my parents. You'll definitely abandon me, Laura cried, accusing Lisa of everything. Lisa looked at her coldly. She hadn't even said or done much, yet Laura was already so quick to push all the blame onto her. In her past life, Lisa would never have reacted like this. But after being reborn, she no longer had patience. The seed of hatred had long been buried in her heart. Laura, when did I ever say I was going to drive you away? Lisa asked, her voice laced with a bit of impatience. She had no intention of acting like her, using tears to win sympathy. How did you not? You won't let me call them Dad and Mom. Why else would you bring up my dead uncle and aunt? Laura, stop making a scene. You know Lisa didn't mean it that way. Mr. Thompson finally spoke up, unable to watch the farce any longer. Laura was stunned. She couldn't believe Mr. Thompson, who had always doted on her, would now yell at her because of Lisa. But Laura didn't realize how disgraceful she looked at the moment. Lisa had just returned home. Jason was still here, and she was ruining the Thompson family's image in front of an outsider. Jason, who had only helped Lisa once, remained silent throughout, acting like a bystander. Laura, your sister just came home. You should be happy. Now you have a new friend, and you won't feel lonely anymore. Mrs. Thompson also tried to comfort her, holding her arm. I don't want to. I don't want to. Laura shouted at her as well. She instinctively looked at Jason and saw that he didn't care. She then broke down and ran back to her room in tears, covering her face. Jason was supposed to be hers. But ever since Lisa appeared, he wouldn't even look at her. Even her parents were now standing on Lisa's side. Laura grew more and more resentful of this suddenly reappeared sister, and Mrs. Thompson, worried, immediately followed her upstairs. With Laura's noisy tantrum gone, the living room finally returned to peace. Mr. Thompson sighed and turned to Jason. Sorry you had to witness all that. Jason replied politely, Don't worry, Uncle. I won't mention it to anyone. It's getting late, I should head home now. Lisa, help your dad walk Jason out. Lisa nodded and took the lead, walking ahead of Jason. Mr. Thompson looked at the well-mannered Lisa and nodded approvingly. Compared to Laura, Lisa was clearly the more sensible one. How did you know I was the real Thompson daughter? Lisa asked casually as she led the way. After you went missing all those years ago, your uncle and aunt never stopped searching for you. Laura's parents, they died in a car accident during that time. Despite all the complications, the Thompsons never gave up looking. I joined in the search as well. I never thought we'd actually find you, Jason said, his voice calm, though his gaze toward her was warm and gentle. Life without parents must have been tough, huh? Lisa didn't reply. Was it tough? Maybe. Yes, it was exhausting emotionally, mentally. The road to revenge was long and uncertain. No one knew how much pain it would take to reach the end. Get some rest. No need to see me off any further, Jason said at the doorway. He paused to look at her for a moment before turning and walking away. Lisa stood in place, watching his figure disappear from view. Only then did she drop her facade, her eyes darkening with hatred. Laura, in this lifetime, I was reborn for one reason, to make you pay. Night fell. Lisa sat at her vanity, still feeling a little out of place. Just then, the door opened softly. Lisa, still awake? Mrs. Thompson walked in, her voice full of tenderness and love. Is something wrong? Lisa asked with a sweet smile, though she still wasn't used to calling them Mom and Dad. In her previous life, she did harbor some resentment toward the Thompsons, but deep down, she had loved them. She knew they had never stopped looking for her all these years. That thought alone moved her deeply. After dinner, your dad and I went to the mall and picked out some clothes for you. Take a look and see if you like them. Mrs. Thompson held several luxury brand shopping bags filled with beautiful outfits, soft pink dresses, elegant gowns, and some mature-looking suits. Lisa was stunned. This was something she had never dared to even dream about. When Lisa didn't respond or move, Mrs. Thompson thought she didn't like them and nervously said, "If you don't like them, it's okay. I can take them back." "Mom, I love them," Lisa said, lifting her teary eyes. Her voice trembled slightly. In her last life, she lost the chance to feel true parental love. This time, she wouldn't let anyone take that from her. "Lisa, your dad and I owe you. We'll make it up to you. You've suffered enough all these years." Mrs. Thompson looked at her daughter's red eyes with pain and guilt in her heart. Lisa couldn't help but hug her, greedily soaking in the warmth that only a mother's embrace could offer. This path of revenge would never be easy. Her rebirth was paved with hardship and suffering. She had no way out, only the courage to keep going forward. All she hoped was that, in the end, everyone would find the place where they truly belonged. The next morning, Lisa stood in front of the mirror. Looking at her reflection, round, bright eyes, long hair draped over her shoulders, and a clean school uniform, she looked pure and innocent. "Lisa, you look so pretty in your uniform," Mrs. Thompson said with a smile, entering the room with a cup of warm milk. "Good morning," Lisa greeted politely. Though she didn't show it, she still felt a bit uncomfortable in this new home with these new parents. "Good girl. Mommy made a special breakfast for you. Drink the milk and come downstairs to eat." "Okay," Lisa answered cheerfully. She packed up her school bag and headed to the dining room, only to find Laura already sitting there. Laura saw Lisa, who looked bright and refreshed, and couldn't hide the displeasure on her face. She spoke with a trace of mockery. "Sister, doesn't living in a mansion feel way better than being in an orphanage?" "Laura, what kind of way is that to speak to your sister?" Mr. Thompson frowned and scolded her. "Dad, ever since she came back, why do you always yell at me? Do you not love me anymore?" Laura's tone shifted skillfully from sarcasm to tearful pitifulness in an instant. To Lisa, the whole act was disgusting, so fake. "Laura, with acting skills like yours, you really should get an award. Otherwise, what a waste of your talent," Lisa thought coldly. "Laura, can't you try to understand Mom and Dad's feelings? Lisa has been away for so long, and now she's finally back. Of course, we want to make it up to her. That doesn't mean we don't love you." "Please don't throw tantrums anymore," Mrs. Thompson said wearily. She had tried so hard to love both daughters equally, but she didn't understand why Laura insisted on fighting. Mr. Thompson, seeing how exhausted his wife was, added, "Laura, you're not a child anymore. You should be more mature." "Fine. You're all on her side. I hate her. I hate all of you," Laura shouted, slammed her bread down on the table, and stormed out. Mrs. Thompson quickly called after her, but got no response. "Go get someone to follow the second young miss. Make sure she has her bag and breakfast," she instructed the maid, eyes still on Laura's disappearing figure, her face showing some worry. Meanwhile, Lisa calmly sat and enjoyed her eggs and milk, feeling quite pleased. The more Laura cried and threw tantrums, the more satisfied Lisa felt. Yes, her happiness now was built on Laura's misery. "Lisa, I hope you like the food Mommy made. Eat up and don't be late for school," Mr. Thompson said warmly, placing a bun on Lisa's plate. Lisa returned a small, sweet smile in response. After breakfast, Mrs. Thompson insisted on driving Lisa to school. Lisa didn't want to refuse and finally agreed. "Mom, you should go back now." "I'm heading in," Lisa said to Mrs. Thompson as she got out of the car at the school gate. When she heard the word "Mom," Mrs. Thompson thought she had misheard. She looked up, wanting to confirm with Lisa, but Lisa had already walked through the school gates. Mrs. Thompson covered her face, tears streaming down. Her heart ached, but she also felt a deep happiness. As Lisa entered the school, she immediately felt countless eyes on her. "Isn't that Lisa? I heard she's being kept by some rich guy. Shameless at such a young age. She's been an orphan since she was little. Maybe she's just afraid of being poor again." Every corner of the school was filled with gossip about Lisa. She heard bits and pieces of it as she walked by. She was on her way to class when a teacher from the disciplinary office called her into the office. "Lisa, I want you to explain this," the teacher said sternly, glaring at her. "Explain what?" Lisa looked confused. "Don't play dumb. Getting involved with a man at your age? You've always been an excellent student. What happened to you?" The teacher pushed up his glasses, his words harsh and accusatory. Sir, please watch your words. You need to have proof before saying things like that. I don't want to argue with you. The notice board is still up. You can go see it for yourself. Either way, you're expelled now, the teacher said coldly, not even sparing her a glance before leaving. Lisa told herself to stay calm and walked over to the notice board, where a crowd had already gathered. A girl being kept at such a young age, Lisa. Lisa has no shame. There were countless slanders, even blurry photos that seemed to show her with a man. That man, barely recognizable, was clearly Jason. Lisa's rage surged. She didn't even need to think. This had to be Julia's doing. Just then, a figure approached from the crowd. Lisa recognized him instantly. Isn't that Jason in the photo? A student shouted. Jason looked at Lisa in the center of the crowd, then glanced at the notice board. His expression darkened. What's going on here? It was Julia, Lisa said firmly. No one else would do something this vile. Lisa, we've known each other for years. Now that you've made rich friends, how could you falsely accuse me like this? Julia stepped out from the crowd, feigning hurt. The surrounding students began whispering. Lisa wasn't fazed by the rumors. She stared coldly at Julia and said, Apologize to me, Julia. Apologize? What did I do wrong? Do I need to spell it out for you? We grew up together. I treated you like a sister, always putting you first. And in return, you slander me in front of everyone. Julia looked pitiful, stealing glances at the students. Seeing their sympathy, she felt secretly pleased, though her face showed even more distress. That's on you. Sister? Julia, don't you feel ashamed saying that? Lisa stood tall despite the stares and murmurs. I'll take care of this, Jason said, stepping behind Lisa. As the male lead in the scandal, he had run out of patience for Julia's lies. I can handle it myself, Lisa refused his help. You and Lisa are lovers. You're ruining her, Julia said as she sized Jason up. Julia, you claim to be my best friend. But do you even realize what you've done? Lisa's voice rang clear and righteous, making some of the students begin to question what they'd heard. You switched our test papers so I'd fail and you'd pass. You trashed my room. You even set fire to the orphanage kitchen. Ring any bells? And now you're spreading rumors that I'm Jason's mistress. How should I settle this debt? Lisa's voice was firm, unwavering. She wasn't going to let it go. Julia was startled. When had Lisa become like this? No matter how she tried to guilt-trip or manipulate her, Lisa didn't fall for it. Lisa, after all our years of friendship, how could you frame me? Julia still clung to her act, tears streaming down her face. Enough, Julia. Why won't you admit it even now? You said you didn't spread those rumors, then swear it. Right now. Lisa pressed forward, step by step. Julia's lips trembled, but she couldn't say a word. Lisa sneered. Of course. Someone like you wouldn't hesitate to lie under oath. Why would I believe anything you say? In her past life, Lisa had trusted Julia blindly, which led to her tragic end. Now, she was determined to make everyone who had hurt her pay twice as much. Despite how far things had gone, Julia still refused to back down. She put on her most pitiful face, crying as she said, Lisa, everyone can see the truth. That man is right here. Why won't you explain your relationship with him? Julia's eyes drifted to Jason, a smug look in them. The students followed her gaze, curious to hear what Lisa would say. Lisa sneered internally. Julia thought Jason's kindness could be used against her? She had no idea. Fine then. Lisa would let her see what real humiliation looked like. She suddenly linked her arm with Jason's and faced the crowd with clear eyes. I didn't want to discuss my personal life with people who have nothing to do with it. But since you insist on twisting things, I'll clarify. He is my fiancé. Gasps rippled through the crowd. No way. Lisa has a fiancé? Isn't she an orphan? This must be a dream. He's so handsome. Julia was the most shocked of all. She had wanted to ruin Lisa's reputation, but this result was the opposite of what she expected. Jason was Lisa's fiancé? Impossible. Seeing Julia's stunned, lost expression, Lisa smiled faintly, then subtly let go of Jason's arm. Her eyes were cold as she looked at Julia. Satisfied now? Your rumors just slapped you in the face. No way. Lisa, we've known each other for so long. I know everything about you. Why are you lying? He's not your fiancé. You only met a few days ago. Julia refused to believe it. She was convinced Lisa was lying. Lisa walked up to her, casually raised a brow, and smiled calmly. Still won't believe it? Good. Turning slightly, Lisa looked at the somewhat dazed Jason and playfully blinked her clear eyes. Then she said, Jason, aren't you my fiancé? Jason snapped out of it, looked at her adorable, innocent face, and gave a slight nod. You are indeed my fiancé. His voice was calm but firm, and the impact was enormous. The crowd began murmuring again, their suspicions turning toward Julia. They used to be so close. What happened? Don't you get it? They're both from the orphanage. Maybe Lisa was telling the truth. Julia really did all those things just to get adopted. She seemed so gentle, but she has a dark heart. Hurting her best friend like that. In an instant, Julia became the villain. The crowd's judgmental stares overwhelmed her. Crying, she ran out of the crowd and disappeared. After the crowd dispersed, Lisa looked at Jason and said, Thank you for admitting it just now. She really didn't want to talk about their relationship in front of others, but to publicly expose Julia, she had used him this time. When Lisa grabbed Jason's arm earlier, her heart had skipped a beat. In her past life, she had only admired Jason from afar. She never imagined they'd be this close in this life. Jason smiled gently and reached out to pat her head, his touch affectionate. There's nothing wrong with admitting it. Because it was true. His casual words made Lisa blush slightly, her eyes darting around. I heard you were expelled. It's for the best. Let's have Uncle and Aunt arrange a new school for you. This environment was no longer suitable for her. Lisa didn't object. She nodded. Just as they were about to leave, she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in the distance. It was him, Leo. In her past life, he was her boyfriend, but secretly had an affair with Julia. He and Julia had conspired to send her to the operating table. The thought filled Lisa with hatred. She stood there, eyes cold, watching him disappear around the corner. Her nails dug into her palms, but she didn't feel the pain. Then, she saw Julia heading in the same direction. Suspicion stirred in her mind. They must be meeting up. Jason noticed something was off and asked, What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Lisa snapped back to reality. Seeing the concern in his eyes made her feel better. Jason, I just saw Julia sneaking off that way. Let's follow her. Jason looked in the direction Lisa pointed and indeed saw Julia's figure. Remembering what she'd done to slander Lisa, he followed with her. There was an abandoned storage room near that corner of the school. Lisa guessed they were meeting there. It was a hidden spot, rarely visited and shadowed from sunlight, perfect for a secret meeting. Lisa and Jason carefully approached. Before they even reached the door of the janitor's closet, they heard an angry male voice from inside. Lisa immediately recognized Leo's voice, full of fury. That Lisa actually embarrassed you in front of everyone like that. She clearly doesn't treat you like a friend. Hiding just below the window outside the closet, Lisa sneered silently. Leo, how could Lisa treat me like that? I'm so hurt. Julia's voice was full of grievance, her tear-streaked face radiating a pitiful beauty. Leo reached out to wipe away her tears, and she leaned into his arms. Don't worry, Shally, he said softly. I'll make sure you get justice for this. Don't be too sad. Hearing this, Julia's lips curled into a smug smile, though she still put on a sorrowful expression. Leo, Lisa is my friend. If you try to help me, what if she? Don't worry. She won't know it was me. Here's what we'll do. Leo whispered his plan to Julia. She pounded his chest playfully, her tone flirtatious. Leo, you're so bad. Leo smirked, letting his hand roam without shame. His voice grew suggestive. I can be even worse. Want to try? Their bodies soon entangled in an indecent embrace, and the room was filled with sounds that left little to the imagination. Outside, Lisa and Jason blushed in unison. Lisa quickly regained her composure, especially after remembering that the two inside were her enemies. But Jason, ever the pure-hearted young man, couldn't even look her way. Lisa gently patted his shoulder and calmly mouthed, Let me borrow your phone. Though puzzled, Jason handed it over without question. Lisa opened the camera app and quietly began recording the scandalous scene inside. Every moment that could serve as leverage was carefully documented. On the way back, Jason kept glancing at Lisa with a strange expression, leaving her confused. "If you have something to say, just ask," she said. "You took pictures," Jason replied. Lisa nodded, instantly understanding what was on his mind. "You want to know why, right?" Jason didn't respond, but his gaze said it all. Lisa, calm as ever, answered. "You heard what they said. Julia and Leo plan to hurt me in despicable ways. I'm just protecting myself, keeping some cards in hand, just in case." If she wanted her enemies to pay the price, she needed solid evidence in her hands. Hearing this casual yet firm declaration, Jason's brow furrowed. For the first time, he realized just how much pain and injustice Lisa had endured. He hadn't protected her before, but from now on, he would never let her get hurt again. "Lisa, now that you have me, and Uncle and Auntie, no one will ever hurt you again." His words were laced with unwavering determination, and his handsome side profile, bathed in sunlight, was breathtakingly beautiful. Lisa almost lost herself staring at him. When they arrived at the Thompson mansion, Mrs. Thompson was surprised to see Lisa back early, especially with Jason. "Lisa, aren't you supposed to be in class? Are you feeling unwell?" she asked, placing a hand on Lisa's forehead. Everything seemed normal. "Ma'am," Jason stepped in, "Lisa was wronged at school and got expelled without a proper investigation. So I brought her home." Mrs. Thompson's expression changed immediately. She rushed to check Lisa over. "Where are you hurt?" "Let me see." "I'm fine, Mom. It's just that some classmates said awful things and I got expelled." "I'm sorry for causing trouble." Lisa's understanding and well-mannered attitude made Mrs. Thompson feel even more guilty. She pulled Lisa into a hug and comforted her. It's okay. If this school won't have you, we'll find you a better one." At that, Lisa's eyes sparkled. She looked up and said, "Mom, I want to go to the same school as Laura. That way, we'll have more in common, and maybe she won't see me as just a country girl anymore." All right. I'll have the butler handle it right away." Hearing Lisa call her Mom repeatedly warmed Mrs. Thompson's heart. And everything Lisa said only deepened the guilt she felt for not being there for her all those years. From now on, she was determined to love and make it up to her. Later, when Laura found out that Lisa would be attending her elite school, her face turned pale. She grabbed Mrs. Thompson's hand and cried, "Mom, I don't want to go to school with her. She'll bully me." Mrs. Thompson, who was busy in the kitchen making something for Lisa, sighed and replied gently, "Laura, Lisa is your sister. She won't bully you. Try to be understanding, okay? Mom's busy now, go on." Laura's face fell. Her eyes flashed with hatred, and her fists clenched tightly. "Lisa, it's all Lisa's fault. She came back and stole everything, her place, her spotlight, even Jason." "Why?" Consumed with rage, Laura screamed. "Mom doesn't love me anymore. She's taking her side." Then she stormed upstairs, slamming her door shut. Mrs. Thompson sighed again. This child, more and more unreasonable. The next day, Lisa and Laura were driven to school together. As soon as they got out of the car, Laura sneered. Don't think being in the same school means you're one of us. A sparrow will never become a phoenix. Don't you dare tell people we're related." With that, she shot Lisa a glare and strutted off. Lisa simply raised an eyebrow, watching her back with a cool smile. They were never on the same path. She would never stoop to such cruelty. Glancing up at the school's bold signage, Lisa walked in without hesitation. This place would soon become Laura's personal hell. The moment Lisa stepped into the classroom, she locked eyes with Laura. Laura's face turned purple. She pointed at Lisa and snapped, "What are you doing here? Get out." Just then, a teacher walked in and smiled at the class. "This is our new transfer student. From today on, she'll be one of your classmates. Lisa, you can pick any seat." Laura looked like she was about to cry. Not only was Lisa in the same school, she was now in the same class. Lisa calmly picked a seat by the window. Then the teacher added, "Everyone, the annual sports meet is coming up. If you're interested in participating, sign up with the class monitor." "Sports meet?" Laura's eyes lit up with a wicked glint. "Lisa, just wait. I'll make sure you're kicked out of the school too."